Hi, welcome to Dad. If you've spent any time in Dad's own Discord or his live streams, then you'd know Dad is an anime master. He even has anime dad merch. It's the softest material in the universes. Seriously. Since Dad is the anime master, he figured he'd share his knowledge for those who aren't as cultured. Now, before you spam the comments with, "Where's JoJo?" Dad will tell you that unfortunately, he isn't a JoJo fan. Dad knows all about the series and thinks there are many unique characters and there is a cool concept to the show. But it's just not interesting for Dad, and he absolutely does not like the art style. Dad has to really enjoy the art if he's going to watch an entire series. So no, JoJo doesn't come anywhere near Dad's list of best anime. Sorry, unsub if you must. Live your life for you. So let's begin. Here is Dad's list for the top 10 best anime in the universes. Number 10, Kikis Delivery Service, 1989. Dad wasn't sure if he would even put a Studio Ghibli film on this list because most of them are top 10s on their own. They really need their own list. Dad will probably make a top 10 list of his favorite Ghibli films, but until then, here is his favorite from Miyazaki. This was hard to pick since there are so many good ones. Princess Mononoke came very close to taking this spot, but ultimately, it came down to the one that Dad has watched the most. Dad loves Kiki for some random reasons. Number one being that Dad is fascinated with the ability to fly, specifically without a large aircraft. Now, even though this is not possible for most humans in this universe, the way we see Kiki relearning her ability to fly feels very real and relatable. I can imagine the feeling of what it's like as she's regaining her ability to use her magic. Even when she can use her magic, she's so clumsy it leads to wonky steering and barely staying afloat. The human error helps Dad to imagine the feeling of flying himself. Aside from that, Dad loves seeing all the bread and the baked goods in the quiet bakery. But what makes this movie great is the story of a young person finding their way in the world and growing up, moving to a new town and getting a job, and finding your own friends, your own life. Dad also loves the town. It's modeled after Stockholm, but placed on a coast, set in the 1950s. If you haven't watched it yet, prepare yourselves for a wholesome overload. Number 9, Bubblegum Crisis, 1987. A series all about hip ladies in future suits beating up boomers. Sounds good to me. Dad loves 80s and 90s anime the most, and Bubblegum Crisis is one of the best from the 80s. It is also widely known as a classic anime series by people who know what the heck they're talking about. If you're a fan of Blade Runner, then you may enjoy Bubblegum. There's even a familiar character name in one of our 4 heroes, Pris. More on her and her pals in a moment. This series takes place in 2032 in a dystopian Tokyo. Robots called boomers, which look like humans that are made to repair the city, are turned bad when in the hands of naughty boy criminals. The boomers are made by an evil company called Genome. Look familiar? So the 4 hero ladies, including Pris, are sent in to fight the boomers. The battles are amazing and the art is absolutely stunning. Dad highly recommends. Number 8, Fist of the North Star, 1984. Based on the early 80s manga, Fist of the North Star is clearly influenced by Mad Max. I mean, look. Another dystopian Earth where naughty boys be naughty and a lone hero named Kenshiro serves justice by basically tickling them to death. Kenshiro is like a larger Bruce Lee who uses pressure points in his martial arts to explode his opponent's heads and organs. He helps the weak and innocent by fighting those who pillage in this wasteland. It's incredibly satisfying to see huge enemies think this man is no match for them. Then he goes on Tickle Quest 9000 and waits for their imminent death. His enemies never know at first what he even did. They assume no damage has occurred. Then he drops his cool catchphrase, "You're already dead." And boom, his strikes take effect and they blow up and feel like complete morons now that they're dead. Dad takes great pleasure in seeing a cool, confident Clint Eastwood-like hero overpower enormous enemies in front of a crowd. Kenshiro is the epitome of cool and heroic. And the video game is one of the best brawler beat-em-ups Dad has ever played. Check out anything and everything Fist of the North Star. Number 7, Hajime no Ippo, the year 2000. Hajime no Ippo is a series that follows protagonist Ippo Makanuchi, who looks very much like Little Mac from the game Punch-Out! Dad assumes it had some influence on the show. The show follows Ippo, who goes from being picked on by bullies to being one of the best boxers on earth. His story is incredibly engaging. You truly feel for him and want him to succeed. But what this show does that others do not is they also make you feel for all the opponents. You're often rooting for both fighters while ultimately hoping Ippo wins and reaches the top of his class. The writers do a great job of developing the other fighters. You learn their stories and relate to them, so that now you feel bad if they lose too. Dad often felt truly conflicted at times. You really don't know who's going to win sometimes. Ippo lives with his mother, who runs a fishing business. After school, he helps her by carrying boxes and cargo to and from the shop to boats, until he falls into boxing. Ippo learns that he has an incredibly strong punch and a knack for the sport. But he also has a lot of learning to do. The main reason this anime is on Dad's list is because of Ippo's sheer determination to never, ever, ever give up. He is the most motivated character Dad has ever seen. He shows so much honor and spirit and pure innocence that you can't not want him to succeed. The way this anime captures the fighters in a match and the incredible power behind their blows is stunning. The fights are the most engaging fights in any anime Dad has ever seen. They're actually the best. It's all about the fights and the crowd's reactions. Hearing Ippo's thoughts and the calculations during the fights is Dad's favorite part. He learns so much in each fight and implements changes and even switches his styles based on what the other fighter is doing, and it leads him to victory. When he beats a fighter that no one thought he could, it is the most satisfying feeling. He shows everyone in that arena that he is the best and that he truly has the fighting spirit. Number 6. Yokohama Camp, or in English, Laidback Camp, 2018. Laidback Camp could very well be Dad's number 1 pick. It's perfect. The show follows a group of girls who all love camping. They read camping gear catalogs and lose their minds over a compact grill or a new sleeping bag. Most of the show is just them camping, making meals, and being cozy in scarves and blankets as they stare off at Mount Fuji or some other perfect skyline. The meals they prepare and their excitement for every ingredient makes you so hungry. This show genuinely reinvigorated Dad's own interest in camping, then doubled it. It looks so nice just sitting out in nature with a hot bowl of ramen stuffed in a sleeping bag staring at the stars. The main character is Rin, a girl who enjoys driving her scooter to different campgrounds to enjoy some solo camping. There's no real major storyline in Laidback Camp, other than the Christmas camping trip that they talk about, which comes at the end of the season. There's only 1 season, so you can watch it relatively quickly. Season 2 is coming in 2021, and Dad will be there on day 1 to sit by the fire and chug down a bucket of ramen staring at a perfect blue sky. Number 5. Dad Feels, 2019. I mean, come on. Let's be honest. Dad is the best anime. But he put himself at number 5 so he didn't look like an egomaniac. But we all know it's true. The mystery, the emotional drama, superpowers, the battles, the science fiction, the science, the bops, the memorable hairstyles, the dad jokes. Dad is one of the best anime he's ever seen. And oh boy, it's only getting better. Just wait and see. Number 4. Iria, 1994. If anyone can give Masato from Neon Genesis a run for her money, then it's Iria. Oh boy. Who knew an arrangement of pencil lines could be so beautiful? Dad sure did. The full title of the series is Iria Zyram the Animation, because it is the animated prequel to the live-action film simply titled Zyram. Iria is a bounty hunter from the planet Mies. She goes with her brother Glenn and his partner to a mission on a hijacked spaceship. On the ship, disaster has struck, much like in the film Alien. An invincible alien prisoner who was locked up in a cargo hold broke free and murdered everyone on the ship. Iria, Glenn, and Bob show up and battle the alien man-creature thing. Bob nearly dies and is sent back to Mies. Iria and Glenn go on to defeat the creature. Then, Glenn makes Iria leave the ship while he blows it up to defeat the alien. The alien even has a rotten protruding neck with a nasty little face like an alien. One of Dad's favorite aspects to the series is the technology. The control panel on her space car reminds Dad a lot of Luke Skywalker's land speeder. It has a very futuristic retro style, much like tech we see in 70s and 80s sci-fi films. Iria's outfit is also very cool, almost like a cross between a Mandalorian and a stormtrooper. It's also nice to see a female hero fully covered, unlike many anime that love to make their characters battle pretty much naked. Iria sure must have a lot less scabs than Major Motoko Kusanagi. Iria is pretty high up on Dad's list because he's a major fan of scientist fiction and anything with bounty hunters. Iria is also a personal fave for Dad because of the pure nostalgia it holds. Iria was Dad's first anime crush. Dad has watched the series many times ever since the 90s, so if you haven't, please check it out. Now before we get into Dad's top 3 anime picks, let's take a break and see what Dad's friend Mickey, aka DJ Noodle, a true anime master and massive anime and gaming collector, chose for her top 5 picks.
Hey guys, guys, this is Mickey here, also known as Noodle Rentals, and I'm here with 5 of my personal favorite anime recommendations. Before I get into that though, I just wanted to give a huge thank you to Dad for inviting me onto this video. I really appreciate it and it is a big honor, so thank you. Alright, so first on my list is Fooly Cooly, or FLCL. Fooly Cooly is one of my absolute favorite animes for so many different reasons, and I'm just gonna get the music out of the way now or else I could just talk about it forever. So the music is done by this Japanese alternative rock band called The Pillows, who started out in 1989, I believe it was. But I do not think that this anime would be nearly as special without this soundtrack. It is just great. Since Fooly Cooly is only like 6 episodes long in total, I really don't want to give too much about the story or any of the small details. So I'll just kind of say that it's about a 12-year-old boy named Naota who gets his entire world flipped upside down when this crazy, like, pink-haired, yellow Vespa-riding maniac named Haruka runs him over with her Vespa, and then she later becomes his housemaid, and it really just kind of messes up his whole life. I think it's also worth mentioning that FLCL was also done by Gainax, and they did Neon Genesis Evangelion, they did Gunbuster, Gurren Lagann, Eden of the East, and definitely a bunch more. So if you're into any of those series, I would absolutely check out Fooly Cooly. Next on my list is Serial Experiments Lain. This one is a psychological thriller from the 90s, and it's probably in my top 5 anime of all time. I absolutely love this show. It can be really creepy and unsettling at times, but it also has some really stunning and beautiful imagery and animation as well. I think this show is really good to watch late at night because it's definitely a mood. One thing that I absolutely love about this series is that it doesn't spoon-feed the story to you in any way, and it kind of keeps you in the dark for a lot of it. But I think that's really fun for a series to do, and it leaves a lot of it up for interpretation. So you should definitely check out Serial Experiments Lain if you're looking for something new to watch. Alright, the next series I have on my list is Madoka Magica, and this is the most current series that I have on this list. It's definitely in my top 3 favorite shows of all time, and again, I cannot recommend this show enough. Do not be fooled by the cute artwork and the bright colors. This show is dark, and it is depressing, and it is sad. But it's amazing, and you should all watch it for so many different reasons. Not gonna lie, Madoka Magica takes the magical girl genre like Sailor Moon, and it violently jabs at it with fiery hot sticks. Each episode passes, it gets progressively darker and darker, and it just makes you ask the questions that you normally wouldn't ask while watching a show like this. Like, what is this cute little animal thing? Why does it want me to become a magical girl so bad? What are we fighting? What are we? The music in this show is amazing. The animation is, like, from the bottom of my heart, some of the best animation I've ever seen, and it's just a fantastic series. It pairs well with tissues. You'll be crying a lot. Enjoy it. Alright, next up is Urusei Yatsura, or Those Obnoxious Aliens. This was a series written by Rumiko Takahashi, which is the same creator of Inuyasha, Ranma 1/2, Mei-san Ikoku, all great series and extremely watchable. This one is one of my favorite series of all time. You can just watch it on in the background if you need a laugh or just want something to watch. And it has movies too, which is nice, so that if you don't want to get stuck watching a series, you can just put on a movie and enjoy it. The series basically starts with this kid, Ataru Moriboshi, who accidentally proposes to this alien Oni girl named Lum. Now, Ataru is basically the biggest pervert you'll ever see, so he doesn't really want this. And he's always trying to get away from Lum and is chasing after other girls who admittedly are all disgusted by him and turn him down at every chance. Most of these series are self-contained, just wacky little shorts, so you can really jump in at any point to enjoy it. It's great if you want to laugh, it's great if you just want something to toss on. It is just one of my favorite series ever. Definitely check out Urusei Yatsura. Alright guys, so I've saved my absolute favorite anime for last. My final recommendation is the 1997 adaptation of Berserk. So the 1997 adaptation of Berserk basically covers volumes 4 to 13-ish of the manga, and even though it leaves out a couple of important things in the arc, I think it does a really good job of covering most of what happens in it. And honestly, I think that I wouldn't have gotten into Berserk if it weren't for the 1997 anime. The story starts off with Guts, a lone mercenary who's trying to basically find his reason for being, and then he gets taken in by a charismatic mercenary band leader named Griffith, who is very determined to have his own kingdom one day. Throughout the series, we get to see Guts, Griffith, and the Band of the Hawk take on all of these different challenges to try and work their way up the rank. As I said before, Griffith wants his own kingdom, so he's going to do anything, and I mean anything, that he can to get it. Berserk has some of the best characters that I've seen in any show. The characters are so fleshed out and well written that you actually feel like these are real people, and it feels like you're experiencing these things with them. And there you have it. Definitely check out Berserk if you haven't already. It is my all-time favorite show, and honestly there's so much story packed into these 25 episodes that I can't really sum it up in a couple minutes. So you'll just have to see for yourself if you like it or not. I will say that there are bloopers for this anime, and it really makes this anime so special. I think the bloopers are amazing. And fun fact, the same studio that did the original Berserk also did the original Pokemon.
Thanks, Mickey. Berserk is also one of Dad's all-time faves. The power behind Guts and his 6-foot sword reminds Dad a lot of himself with his True Value sledgehammer. If it wasn't for Mickey, Dad wouldn't have watched Berserk. So I hope you all follow her on Instagram and check out her suggestions. She knows her stuff. Number 3. Neon Genesis Evangelion, 1995. Now, Dad has a lot to say about Neon Genesis, but this video is getting pretty long at this point. So, Dad decided to make a separate video dedicated to Neon Genesis, where Dad will give his full review. So if you'd like to see what Dad thinks about Neon Genesis, one of the greatest anime ever created, please watch that video. But for now, Dad will say 2 things. 1, you absolutely have to watch Neon Genesis Evangelion. And 2, Masato. Now, even though Neon Genesis is amazing and possibly the #1 anime on most people's lists, it's still only number 3 on Dad's list. It very well could have been number 1 if it wasn't for Dad remembering a show he saw long ago. Number 2, Yokohama Kaidashiki, 1998. Yokohama Kaidashiki, which translates to Yokohama Shopping Log, is often referred to in English as Quiet Country Cafe. Based on the much longer manga that ran from 1994 to 2006. YKK is only 4 episodes, a total of 2 hours. Technically, YKK is a post-cataclysmic sci-fi series about an android girl named Alpha. The series is different in that it takes place in a world where cities are being taken back by Earth. Not like typical bleak, scary, or threatening apocalyptic settings. It is summed up well by Alpha when she says she will spend her days living out the Earth's twilight years. That sounds nice. Towns have been submerged by oceans, grass is taking over the streets, buildings are slowly falling, and humans have left the countryside towns. We watch Alpha as she runs a coffee shop with no customers. She drives her scooter and takes her camera around looking for something to take photos of. That's pretty much it. The most action in the short series is when Alpha is hit by lightning and given new skin. The setting feels like a vacation, honestly. It's incredibly relaxing and calming to watch. And if you watched Dad's latest Vibe Tribe DJ set, you saw many YKK backgrounds in that video. Dadbot would love to live in this town and putz around on a scooter all day taking photos of vaporwave skies. Alpha and Dadbot would get along very well. We all know how Dadbot feels about Masato, but if he had to choose, then Alpha would be his #1 waifu. If he wasn't married to Mom, obviously. So hypothetically, Masato would be a great girlfriend to share life experiences with until she gets blown up, and Alpha would be a perfect wifebot to never grow old with, who Dadbot could relate to in so many ways, as they both watch the Earth slowly crumble into a beautiful oblivion. There are many types of anime available to us regular humans on Earth, but the unique nothing much happens angle of YKK is what Dad loves. It's very different and honestly quite refreshing to see an anime where there aren't screaming characters or massive battles. So, if you want to watch a 2-hour montage of beautiful skies, then check out Yokohama Kaidashiki. Number 1. One Punch Man, 2015. And now, we have the best anime that Dad has ever seen. Dad went back and forth on number 1 for a while. Originally, it was Neon Genesis. Then YKK bumped Neon Genesis down to number 2, and it held the spot for a long time. But ultimately, YKK also got bumped down after careful consideration. Dad found himself rewatching One Punch Man more than any other series or movie. One Punch Man is the complete opposite of YKK. It has many battles and many screaming characters. Not only does One Punch Man have the best battles Dad has ever seen, but it's also very funny. Dad doesn't necessarily love anime all about battles and fights, but One Punch Man does a very good job of keeping you interested and entertained. These battles are on par with the fights in Hajime no Ippo. With so many countless heroes and monsters in One Punch Man, they do a very good job of holding our interest with the characters they've created. Dad wonders if One Punch Man is influenced by Fist of the North Star. Similar to how Kenshiro's ability in Fist of the North Star to destroy his enemies with minimal effort while maintaining a calm demeanor, Saitama, also known as One Punch Man, can do the same, but with just one mere punch. The gimmick of Saitama's incredible ability to defeat an enemy with one punch combined with his don't give a food attitude makes for some of the best storytelling Dad has seen. Something that adds to this satisfaction is the way in which Saitama gained his powers. He merely does 100 push-ups, pull-ups, squats, and runs 5 miles every day. All of this is so ridiculous that it drives his enemies insane, filling them with rage and determination to destroy him. Unfortunately for them, it's futile, because with just one punch, he decimates them. Most of the times when in a battle, his enemies will be going crazy on him and either completely missing or having no effect. When they are pounding on him, he is often thinking about what he'll make for dinner. His lack of attention to the fight drives them insane and makes for that much more of a satisfying victory when he beats them with no effort at all. Dad found himself laughing and cheering for Saitama every time he'd win against an insanely huge monster in front of a huge crowd that can't believe what they just saw. How could this nobody be so powerful? It's an extreme underdog story with a twist. The underdog who is secretly the top dog. Saitama truly doesn't care about being famous or cool or being the #1 ranked superhero. It's his attitude that makes him truly beloved by Dad. He's the Kurt Cobain of superheroes. This show is heavy on comedy and action. Dad has watched it many times and often finds himself thinking about the series. One Punch Man is also who Dad will dress as for Halloween this year. So for all of these reasons, Dad ranks One Punch Man as his #1 pick for the best anime in the universes. Now that's only a handful of anime, and there are literally endless great shows and movies out there. So if you like this video, gently massage that like button into a submission position, and if it does well, Dad will make another. Dad is always looking for recommendations, so list your favorites, and if they are unknown to Dad, he will add them to his watch list. Thanks for watching, everyone. Bye-bye.